The fool went and got himself arrested. From what we hear, he didn't even put up a fight. Some of his men were even armed. They could have tried to escape, but no, he wouldn't fight back. What kind of a Messiah is that? Not one we could get behind. We went to his trial to see if he would use the public square to rally people to our cause, but again, he refused to do so. He didn't fight back, not even arguing for his own innocence. He just stood there, letting people hurl insult after insult at him. He never cried out when they flogged him, though. I'll give him that. But when the governor asked the crowd if we wanted him to release Jesus or Barabbas, there was no doubt in my mind. This Jesus was a fraud, not even remotely who he sold himself to be. He was not our king, and he could hang on the cross for all I cared.
In the end, she chose the prophet. The prophet. This Jesus of Nazareth, this man of God was coming between my betrothed and me. I was losing the woman I cared about most in the entire world. I couldn't let this happen. I wouldn't let this happen. So when Ruth came up to me in tears saying that they had arrested her Jesus, I went down with her to see what kind of punishment Pilate would hand out. Secretly, I prayed for exile, or that they would shame him so badly that he couldn't show his face again in Jerusalem. But not Ruth. Ruth just kept crying and reaching out for her teacher until she was a sobbing mess. Even when I told her that this was going to cost us our marriage, she wouldn't stop. I don't even think she heard me. She just kept screaming. So I sent her home with her sister. I told her that we would work this out later. I told her not to worry. I told her we could work on our marriage later and make everything better. I didn't tell her that I was willing to be rid of this bothersome Jesus, no matter the cost.
My father was broken. He had spent his entire life living by the law. He had sacrificed so much for the people, for the temple, for God. He had earned an honorable reputation, and that reputation was his most treasured possession, his hard-won guarantee that our family would be safe and secure while under the Roman rule. Without that honor and standing, we didn't know what life was going to look like. I loved Jesus, but I loved my father too. And I'm ashamed to admit it, but I loved our life. I loved the warmth of our house and the comfort of our food. If I could save my father the pain and humiliation of becoming a social outcast, I would. I rushed through the city to Pilate's palace. And there was Jesus, chained and bruised. Angry voices were accusing him of all of these crazy things, finally demanding the death penalty. I wanted to shout out against them, but the thought of my father kept me silent. But then the crowds started calling out for his crucifixion.
And so, with cold determination to save the woman I love,
with my soul full of frustration at this charlatan Messiah,
as my heart was crushed by the shame of it all, I cried out,
crucify him.
Crucify him.
Crucify him.
Crucify him.